Hey, so I'm just hanging out in my sweats before church, and I'm representing Philadelphia right now because that's where the story takes place. So I figured I'll just wear this shirt. Um, so I'm going to talk about basically the period of time when I was investigating the LDS church, because the last video left off that I decided I was going to find out the truth for myself, and so I started researching. So I started Googling my questions, Googling about the church. And yes, I found tons and tons of anti-Mormon stuff, which later on, so this is later in the story, but when I was meeting with missionaries, I'm sure that they were like totally freaking out about it, because so many people would look up online, find things against the church, and be totally turned off and not want to meet with them anymore. But for me, just the way that I am so like curious and open about things, it just kind of was more information. It didn't really turn me off to anything, because really what you find online is not necessarily truth, obviously. So it was just more information to help me get to a point where I could figure out what I believed was true. So I did a lot of that, and I continued. So this was like July 2013 when I started going to their church. All the way through late November, I was going to my Catholic church and the LDS church every weekend. So sometimes the Catholic church I would go to on Saturdays at like 4 for the hour mass, and then on Sunday I would go with my nanny family to church, or oftentimes I would do Catholic mass at, I think it was like 7 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. And then I would like stop at Starbucks and get coffee, and then I'd go to the LDS church. So that happened a lot. And so I was just going to both churches, so I was learning about the church through gospel principles class, and young women's is what I was going to, because my mom boss was called to the presidency at the time, so that's kind of where I was, and it fit really well for me. And yeah, I don't think I was looking up too much Catholic doctrine at the time, because I did do a lot of research reading the catechism and things like that in grad school. So I had kind of done a bunch of research on the Catholic Church before this point. So researching, and every so often getting an offer to meet with the missionaries, and I always said no, because I did not want to be an investigator. That was too serious for me. I just was researching, and I just wanted to learn information. I didn't want to be seen as like someone who is moving towards baptism or anything like that. Like, no, not me. So finally in late November, I was at church, and in the second hour I got I think it's like the executive secretary comes, and he was like, oh, the bishop wants to see you. And I was like, well, okay. So go talk with the bishop. And funny story about that is I went to Catholic Mass early that morning, and there was a gay couple there at Mass together, and I just thought, I wonder what the LDS Church thinks about that, or their stances on that. Like, can gay couples like come to church or be members? Like, how does that work? I bet you have to talk to the bishop about that to get that question answered. I wonder how you talk with the bishop. Like, how do you like get, and you have to make an appointment? How does that work? Same day, all of a sudden they're like, hey, bishop wants to see you. Oh, okay. So I go chat with him, and he's like, so he was a very soft-spoken man. He was awesome. He's like, so you've been coming here for a while now. So can you tell me a bit about like what you're thinking, what you're doing? And I was like, oh yeah. So I'm just like researching the church, like learning more about it, and I tell him how, I want to find the truth, whatever. I'm still going to Catholic church and cantering there, and he was like, our missionaries have lessons that basically would teach you the things that you want to know. And I was like, no, I don't want to meet with the missionaries. And he goes, okay, I'll tell you what. I'll talk to the missionaries, and I will tell them that you want the lessons for educational, informational purposes, not to be baptized. Like, the goal is not baptism, the goal is just education. And so I was like, fine. Yeah, sure, we can do that. So that's how I ended up agreeing to meet with missionaries. And so I feel like this video is already 5 minutes, so I guess that's all you get. You just get the period of time where I was researching on my own, and finally, because this bishop is so amazing, I ended up agreeing to meet with missionaries. So late November 2013, we had our first meeting, and we met pretty much weekly. And so I guess next week I'll talk about how those lessons went, and maybe I'll get to when I decided to get baptized. So thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate you guys' support in listening to my conversion story video, so I'm excited to keep going.